Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Well, I thought it was time for a full-fledged review on our Traxxas Summit VXL 1/16 scale monster truck. I actually took the lid off already. Anyway, so let's talk about this thing. First of all, my overall rating on this truck is going to be a 3.5 out of 5 with good reason. There are some drawbacks to this vehicle. Number one, it comes with a lousy 6-hour charger, which sucks. You know, for a whole 15 to 20 minutes of playtime with a stock battery. And of course, if you got two batteries, now you gotta have two chargers, and you're still waiting 6 hours to recharge two batteries. And that kind of sucks. So you're gonna need to buy yourself a really good quality charger that can at least charge at 1.2 amps, which is what the batteries are. They're 1200 milliamps. You wanna charge them at 1.2 amps. And you can recharge them within an hour. I wouldn't suggest anything higher than that, even though technically, yes, they can handle a faster charge rate, but you're gonna burn your batteries out quicker. So at least if you charge them at the 1.2 amp range, you can have them recharged in an hour. Now, with running two of them in parallel, you do get a ton load of playtime, which is awesome. Running single, you still get actually really good, respectable playtime. So not bad for NIM packs. Speed out of the box is about 25-30 mile an hour. When you put those two batteries into series, okay, so you're doubling your voltage, you actually get pretty close to 50 miles an hour to this thing, which is sick. And I would not recommend doing that if you're jumping this thing. Although it is quite fun to go 50 mile an hour and take a jump, you can damage the vehicle, and I actually did a couple weeks ago. I tore out my inner axle on the back, and that kind of sucked because I didn't have any spare parts. And at $9 to $12 for a inside and outside axle unit, you know, you're looking about $16 to $24 for one actual complete unit. That is a little pricey, so you're going to want to watch it. You can get parts cheaper though. I actually deal with a company in the States called Dollar Hobbies, and for, what was it, with shipping, it was just under $100. I was able to get all four inner outers, new wheel nuts, hex nuts, the whole nine. Comes in a nice little package. They have really good deals on parts, and you know, just phenomenal. So if you want to save money with this truck, definitely that is one place I'd recommend going. Anyhow, as for the rest of the truck goes, brushless motor, awesome. The ESC, really good. Servos, actually the single servo is what you get with the truck. I went into a dual, so I got another 2080 servo. I've had no issues even with my first one. Some people have. I'd say about maybe 1 in 20 people actually get an issue with this servo. I don't know why, for some reason or another. But I've had no issues with it, so I popped in another one and ordered the parts, of course, that I needed for hooking up the remainders of what I needed for the second side. And that really straightened out my front end alignment a lot too, because that was another issue I had with this truck out of the box. I had to keep my dial about 3/4 the way over. Well, when I got it back from Traxxas after about the third run, I had to keep it all the way over and it wouldn't drive straight anymore. So I was like, really, gotta get that second servo in there. So I ordered the parts, I already had the servo, good to go, got it together. Now my dial sits around 1 o'clock on the trim and it drives straight as a whip. Love it. Okay, so definitely that second servo. I don't care if you're running this truck or the E-Revo, the Mini One, or the Mini Slash. There's a reason why the second port is there. You need it, because without that second servo, you've got a lot of excess of play on this side, which makes it a real pain in the neck to trim it out properly, and also have that wear and tear availability into the trim. Now, also going into upgraded steering links is going to also be another recommendation I'm going to make. I'm going to be doing it on this one, as well as, of course, steel push rods for the shocks, because I just want everything much stronger, but I want that adjustability too, so that I can eventually have this dial sitting dead center and my truck drives dead straight. And then this way, as things wear, I can either tune it here or I can go to my dial. Until I feel like tuning it up here, I can go to the dial. So, you know, that's where I'm at with this. So, I mean, I'm not saying don't buy it. I'm saying definitely buy this truck. Definitely. If you don't have this thing, go buy it. It's worth the money. It is a great truck. It does have some little baddies to it, right? The rear end squats a lot, but that's typical of the Summit. but I find it's too soft in the rear compared to the front. When the rear is under load, of course, your front pops up too high, so it does make it squirrely. So you need to have stiffer springs with some preload on them in the rear to stiffen this up for a couple of reasons. If you look at how the truck sits fully up, the wheels cock out, which is fine. You know, you should be about here under power at the very most, so everything sits basically even, including your tires are sitting even on the ground, which also means your weight on your front should be okay as well. It shouldn't be so high up, because what's causing the big height coming up is when this is down, you know, kind of like that. So, you know, getting a good setup in the suspension is really important, especially if you want to jump this thing. I mean, this is all out of the box, stock form, except for the extra battery and of course the spare servo and my parallel connector. And you know, you're talking a lot of good suspension travel, amazing suspension travel, but it doesn't do a very good job at popping itself all the way back up, so stronger springs would help. And because this is a monster truck class of machine, and you're going to want to bash the daylights out of this thing and jump it, stiffer suspension a must. Okay, it would have been nice if Traxxas would have gone ahead and put a little bit stiffer shock springs in it to begin with, but they didn't, and that's okay. There's always room for improvement, and springs are cheap. As far as the rest of the build quality goes, having those upper and lower A-arms are really great. They also help protect your drive shafts. Awesome. You've got full center drive shaft protection underneath, as well as venting for water to get out. Your battery compartments have vents front and rear, just like the big one. Allows the heat to escape. Also, any water that you get in there, you can get it drained out really easily without any issues. Having the lay-down shock system is definitely a bonus for any RC. I think all RCs should be built this way because it does allow for good suspension travel, but at the same time it protects your shocks from being over-pounded on and at the same time bending. It's not going to allow the shocks to get bent apart like you can on other vehicles. So I think that should be like kind of like a mandatory thing in all RCs, because I really like this shock system. It works really well, and I like the dual upper lower A-arms too. That's adding a lot of durability, a lot of abuse that you can do to the vehicle without hurting anything too easily. Dual battery compartments are definitely a plus. You can run 2 6-cell NIMs in series or parallel. You can run 2 2-cell LiPos, only in parallel apparently, or you can run a single 3-cell. Or you might be able to, I don't know. I'm going to actually call Traxxas and ask just to make sure, because I'm thinking of running 2 3-cells in parallel. And if they say I can do that, then I'm going to do her. Because eventually I want to go up to LiPos, and I'm thinking 3-cells would be a good way to go. And, you know, with the 2 cells or 2 NIMs here, your voltage combined is over 16 volts. Top end. Technically it would be like 14.8 or 14.4, but you know how batteries charge up top end, so we're talking about 16 volts, right? A 3-cell battery only tops out fully charged at 12.6, so it's a few volts less, which does excuse me, it does slow you down. You know, so you're not going to do 50 miles an hour, maybe you're going to do 40. But 40 miles an hour I think is more than sufficient for this thing. Because it is a small vehicle in length, it does have quite the width to it though. 40 miles an hour I think is more than adequate for this machine. You don't need this thing going 100 miles an hour. I mean, it's just, it's sick as it is with 50 miles an hour. And I like it. It's really good. For jumping, I found it actually not too bad on a short jump. Now the jump I have is about 14 inches. I found it actually pretty decent on that, although the suspension is still a little bit on the soft side when you come down, you can slap the chassis, so watch it when you're jumping with a stock suspension setup that's not so stiff, because you could slap your chassis a lot on pavement. That would kind of suck. On the grass it's not so bad, you know, or sand, but you know, it's how you're taking your jumps, how fast you're going. I learned my lesson running the batteries in series not to take jumps with this thing all stock, because I did actually wreck that inner axle. So anyway, The exo cage on the shell, very good durability thing, just like on the big Summit. Really like that. It's awesome. The whole truck overall is definitely an awesome vehicle. I just can't give it a high rating because you've got a really super basic radio. It comes with one servo. You need two. It has weak back springs in comparison to the front. I mean, it just squats too much, but I mean, they're probably all the same all the way around. The thing is you've got all your weight here at the back and it causes too much squat. I tried a wheelie bar on this thing because when Traxxas did send me the parts they promised to help compensate the shipping charges, because it was like 62 bucks to ship this Traxxas, really ludicrous. So then I just bought it. Anyway, part of the parts kit they sent me was a wheelie bar. And I put it on the other day to try it out. Because I thought, hey, I've seen another Summit with a wheelie bar on it, like another 116er like this one. And it looked cool, and that's about all it is it looks cool. Even at its highest setting, when you squat under load, your wheelie bar sticks out so far, you're only about that far off the ground for clearance. So if you hit something, I mean, you're going to wipe out. You could bust the wheelie bar, you could break your mount, who knows. So, I mean, a wheelie bar is good for something like an e-Revo, not for this machine. It's just not suitable. Yeah, you can bolt it up, but that doesn't mean you should. I have a rule in life that I follow, and one of which is, you know, just because I can do something, or, you know, doesn't mean I necessarily should do it, right? And sometimes it does work out that way. And in the case of the wheelie bar for this, just because you can put one on doesn't mean you should. Although I did pop a few wheelies with this thing, even with the batteries in parallel. And it got up like this pretty good. But even that wheelie bar is not the best quality even for the wheels on it. So it can only go straight so far on a very smooth surface, but any little bump and it's going like, yeah, like this all over the place and just flips and wipes and it's like there's no fun in that, you know. But the e-Revo is more suited to a wheelie bar, or the Stampede 4x4 VXLs, you know, and the two-wheel drive Stampedes. They're more suitable for wheelie bars. This thing, it's not a wheelie bar machine. It's a high-speed, fast, you know, bashing, all-round terrain SUV, because the Summit is actually, it's an SUV. So, you know, snow, great. Sand, great. Gravel, pretty good. Street, actually surprisingly well, because the big Summit, its tires are so much thinner of rubber and so much more pliable that they don't do well on concrete. You can actually destroy your tires. Whereas this thing is much thicker, stronger rubber for the Canyon tires, and does actually really well on the street. So I'm pretty happy with that. But it is a pretty beastie machine for its size too. I have had no issues with the spur gear. The motor issue was actually related to that battery problem. Turned out, same with the ESC. So ever since all this has been straightened out, everything's been running nice and smooth, you know, with the exception of yesterday's run. I went to go recharge my batteries and I had some problems recharging them, and I had to actually put them through my discharge recharge cycler program on my charger. And the one battery I actually had to put it through about, I think, 4 or 5 times, and the other one went through twice. But then they straightened right back out, took full charges, and so we're going to try them again today and see how they do. But NIM packs I've never had a lot of good luck with anyways. They just seem to don't like me for some reason. But Lippos, I have usually pretty good luck with them for the most part. Just NIMs, I haven't come across one good NIM battery yet. But anyways, that's the way it goes. And but as I can afford the LiPos, I'm going to switch it up anyhow. LiPos are going to give a little bit more punch too, a little bit better run times, you know, just because they get used a little bit differently. NIMs, you start to lose the throttle curve almost immediately, where a LiPo will stay strong and fully punchy until it's about ready to just go bleh, you know. Waterproofness of this is just amazing. I've taken this thing through a lot of water, really flooded it out, trying to make something just die, and it doesn't. So waterproofness of this is definitely right up there. It's really good. You know, so do I recommend buying this thing? Yes, definitely. Now, price-wise, these things average normal retail about $349 to $369, depending where you buy them. You can get them on sale for about $329, which is actually an awesome price. You know, so try and get them on sale if you can. But you know what? Even $369, I think the $369 is a little on the high side. $349, $329 is actually okay. I'm thinking a really super proper price for this thing would be and should be somewhere around the $300 range, because you are getting brushless, you are getting steroids right out of the box. I mean, this thing is fast even on the one battery. But considering you have to add in a second servo, you really do. To be honest, you really do have to have that second servo in there. You're going to have to stiffen up your rear suspension, especially if you want to do any kind of real jumping. I mean, when a truck comes down on the front, it's not so bad as it does on the rear, because all the weight on this truck is right at the rear end, you know. But stiffening up the suspension even all the way around would actually be really beneficial. You know, sucky 6-hour charger. I mean, come on. Traxxas can spend a couple extra 50 cents and give us a 1200 milliamp charger. You know, let us go in an hour, you know, instead of 6 hours. That's kind of eh. But I mean, all companies are the same way. They always give us, on a ready-to-run vehicle, you get a basic bare-bone battery, if you get a battery at all. And if you do, you get a crappy charger in all of them. So, you know, you might want to consider a better battery. But because you do get a battery that's good, and its milliamp range is good, and you get about 15-20 minutes out of just one battery, which is awesome. Of course, it depends on how much you're full throttling it. And the nice thing about the brushless is you can pin this thing a lot without hurting it, whereas a brushed system, you wouldn't be pinning it as much, and you're going to be going pop, 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 pop with motors. Brushed motors, I just don't like them anymore. I love brushless stuff nowadays. It just takes so much more abuse. The parts cost-wise, I mean, the axles are expensive on these things, you know, which is way more expensive than it is for even a Stampede or a Slash, which is like amazing. I would say that that's also a bit of a downside, is the cost. They need to lower the prices of the axles. Prices of A-arms is fine. Prices of suspension, fine. Prices of pretty much anything else in this thing is actually pretty good. The motor and the ESC, I think they should come down in price on those as replacement parts even, because they are a little high pricey. And although Traxxas has been around since the Stone Age, you know, they do have a good name, but they got to lower the prices a bit more, you know, just in a few areas, and I think that would be good. I think it would be good in all future machines with this kind of a chassis system, where you have the dual servo axis. I think they should start packing with the dual servos all the time, especially if they want to justify $369. Like, if you want to look at this truck as a $370 truck, it should come with 2 batteries, a charger for each battery being as ready to run, or at least a decent charger that can charge each battery within an hour. Of course, it should come with the dual servos. It should come with better suspension, all that other stuff. You know, put it up to something like this: dual batteries, dual servos, better suspension for the size and everything of this machine, and you've got a very basic bare bone remote. Lower the prices on the parts, and this is a good $370 truck in my opinion in that way. But because it doesn't come all that way, and you know, the way it should, we're talking a $300 truck is what I think it's worth, realistically. But otherwise, I mean, yes, it's a fun truck. It's an awesome truck. It's a durable truck. Hell, I've beaten this thing up fairly half decent so far. I haven't really thoroughly abused it yet, but give me some time, I will. But so far, what I've done to it so far, and some of the scares I've had, I thought I would have busted certain things. I've done no damage, and I'm quite amazed. It seems to be just as durable as the big Summit for the most part. It is no crawler by any means. It is 4-wheel drive, but it is not a crawler. You cannot lock the diffs. You know, you have a single-speed transmission in this. So it's not exactly like the big one. It just kind of looks mostly like the big one. But it's got better benefits, more speed right out of the box even. You know, so it's definitely a nice machine that way. So, I mean, that's where we're sitting at with this thing. But I am overall, I got to be honest with you, I'm very happy with this machine. I'm going to be even happier once I upgrade to better springs, maybe even go to the GTR shock bodies. I'm definitely going to go with adjustable steering link bars, and metal push rods for the shocks. I don't think I'm going to do too much more in the way of alloy upgrades to this thing, just because I don't want to invest a ton load of money into something that I'm going to beat the daylights out of. But I do want a little bit more durability factor, that's for sure. And I want better jumping capabilities, because the suspension, the way it is, if you're taking a 6-inch jump or an 8-inch jump, fine, all day long, go nuts. When you start getting into 10, 12, 14-inch jumps and higher, the machine becomes too soft this way. So that's something that I look at there. It is a monster truck. It should be able to handle, some decent jumps. I'm not expecting 20 feet of air here, but I do expect better, and I think it can be a much better machine with some tweaking. Same as, you straighten out this rear suspension here and get it to sit at least even under full power, even with 2 batteries in series, then you're talking much more stable control, because then you're not sitting on an angle like this, when you're full bore, and then you try and steer with that and you got no weight on the front. What do you expect? You're going to go brrr, right? So you need to really do something. And of course, not too thrilled with the fact that all the way up here we push down and it doesn't come all the way back up. It's kind of, it's got not enough strength in those springs, right? But anyways, I mean, hey, guys, I'm going to nitpick stuff apart, and it's just the way it goes. I mean, you want good, honest opinions and reviews. That's what I do my best to do for you guys. And, I like to give you the good straight up without candy coating anything, because I don't believe in candy coating something, and when I do my reviews, I mean, hey, I'm not being paid by companies to say, hey, this is a cool machine, buy it. I'm spending my own coin. I even go out and buy RCs just to buy them, to do reviews on them for people. Just so you guys know what's, decent and what's junk. And, sometimes I actually like some of these ones that I just buy on the fly. And other times I really, in the end, they're just not me. I mean, they're good machines. They're just not me. So I'll just turn around and sell them off and, get at least some of my money back out of them. But, this is definitely a keeper. I'm definitely never selling this thing. This is staying, kind of like my big Summit. It'll always stay with me. These are 2 particular machines that I just totally love and adore, and I don't regret either one of them. And it's great, and I was happy I actually got to buy this one brand spanking new too. It's cool. But anyway, that's pretty much about it. Pretty much about sums it up. Except for one other thing I'd like to give you a pointer on, other than, the whole durable servo thing. With your tires, now this goes for every RC. Even though you've got breathable vented rims, that's not enough to get the water out, because you got to squeeze, because they are foam filled. But even if they weren't foam filled, still you got to get the water out, and because otherwise the foam will just get rotted by the water over time. So if you want to keep some life in your tires, if you take a look here, the big horseshoe in the tread, okay, now you can decide what you do with other treads on other cars, but on this particular one, what I've done is I've gone not anywhere near the middle of the seam. Stay away from that seam, but go just off to the side into the thinner part of the rubber and drill 4 holes. Okay, make sure they're as even as you can get them. So what I did with mine was I started out at the top. I said, okay, I'm going to pick this tread pattern. I drilled it actually right there. I can actually see my little hole mark. And this way it doesn't stretch at the rubber or hurt it. So it's not going to hurt your tire if you do it right. But anyways, you line that up so it's basically parallel. Drill it. Move the tire forward to the next one. That is going to be about here. Drill it here. And do the next one, and so on all 4 tires. Now I started out with not a tiny little wee drill bit. I think it was about it was either 5/32 or 5/64. I'm pretty sure it was the 5/64. It was a small drill bit anyways, it was small. It was up above the 1/16 level for sure, and it was definitely below the 8, so in between there. But that's the drill bit I used, and what you do is after you're done playing, grab your truck from wherever you can. Even the back end actually works. Just keep your fingers off the drive shafts, and then just run the power to the truck, keep it out from the side from you, and get all that water out. The water will come right out those holes, because as the tires balloon out, that foam gets to balloon too at the same time a bit, and it pushes and forces the water out. It'll take you probably about maybe 5 minutes tops to empty all the water you could possibly get out, you know, at the time, and it makes a huge difference on your treads lasting longer and your foams lasting longer in your tires. You know, so I would definitely recommend that little mod to the truck. But definitely don't recommend that wheelie bar. The wheelie bar, it's not a good thing for this machine. It looks cool, but that's about it. It's not really functional, really, as far as practicality goes. But anyways, guys, that's pretty much about it. I'm sure I probably missed a few things. So you know what? If you got questions, you know, feel free to ask, and I'll do the best I can to answer them, as always. And, you know, I know a lot of you guys definitely enjoy my reviews, and I want to keep them coming all the time for you, and, you know, mods and stuff. And as I mod this thing, I'll keep you guys up to date on the mods that I've been doing and whatnot, and how they're working out, and we can go from there. But in the meantime, we're done for this video, and I'm going to go out and play with this thing, so we'll catch you on the next video.